Hello, folks. I am Alan for today's news. I will be reading and speaking about world news, interesting news, news to keep you entertained, and news to keep you informed. What I got for you right here is pro-Iranian forces in Syria warn U.S. a response to airstrike. What it says here.
Pro-Iranian forces in Syria have said they have a long arm to respond to further United States airstrikes on their positions, after tit-for-tat missile and drone attacks in Syria over the last 24 hours. The online statement, released late on Friday and signed by the Iranian Advisory Committee in Syria, said U.S. airstrikes had left several of their fighters dead and wounded, without specifying the fighter's nationality. "We have the capability to respond if our centers and forces in Syria are targeted," the statement said. On Friday night, two Syrian opposition activist groups reported a new wave of U.S. air attacks on eastern Syria, which hit positions of Iran-backed militias, after rockets were fired at bases in Syria housing U.S. troops. Several U.S. officials, however, denied that attacks were launched late on Friday. U.S. officials said two simultaneous attacks were launched against U.S. forces in Syria on Friday. Officials said that, based on preliminary information, one U.S. service member was injured in a rocket attack at the Conoco plant but was in stable condition. At about the same time, several drones were launched at Green Village, where U.S. troops are also based. All but one of the drones were shot down and there were no U.S. injuries there, said the officials who spoke to the Associated Press news agency on condition of anonymity. U.S. President Joe Biden on Friday said the U.S. would respond forcefully to protect its personnel after, earlier in the day, it attacked Syrian sites used by groups affiliated with Iran's Revolutionary Guard. The U.S. airstrikes were launched after an attack on Thursday by a suspected Iranian-made drone killed one U.S. contractor, injured another and wounded 5 U.S. troops at their base in northeast Syria.
You can read the rest about this in my description box if you like. And what I got next for you here is, why isn't Hunter Biden in jail on gun charges?
Why hasn't Hunter Biden been charged with gun violation? GOP House member asks. A Republican member of Congress waded into the controversy over why first son Hunter Biden has not been charged for false statements made on paperwork to obtain a firearm. Biden illegally purchased a firearm in 2018. Hunter Biden drama marches on. Wisconsin Republican Representative Tom Tiffany questioned Rob Wilcox, Senior Director of Policy for the activist group Everytown for Gun Safety, why Biden had not been charged. Biden, who has a long-standing drug addiction, was legally barred from owning a gun and lied on ATF Form 4473 that is required in every gun purchase across America. Hunter Biden answered no on the line of the form that asked, "Are you an unlawful user of, or addicted to, marijuana or any depressant, stimulant, narcotic drug, or any other controlled substance?" The Navy discharged Biden in 2014 from the Naval Reserve for testing positive for cocaine. More, Joe Biden headed for impeachment? More, could Donald Trump get saved by a pardon? More, Hunter Biden's legal nightmare is now far worse. More, Joe Biden's presidency is fading away. More, the collapse of Fox News, CNN, and MSNBC has begun. The ATF bars substance abusers whose unlawful use has occurred recently enough to indicate the individual is actively engaged in such conduct from buying a gun.
The rest of this in my description box if you like. And we'll go on to the next one here. This is over 3,000 pounds of meat recalled over possible E. coli contamination.
Use. Johnny Depp enjoying life in English countryside. More than 3,000 pounds of boneless beef chuck product that was distributed to several states is being recalled because it may be contaminated with a strain of E. coli. Elkhorn Valley Packing issued the recall for Elkhorn Valley Pride Angus Beef 61226 Beef Chuck 2 PCBNLS, which was packed on February 16, 2023, after a sample tested positive for Shiga toxin-producing E. coli or STEC 0103, according to the Department of Agriculture's Food Safety and Inspection Service, FSAS. The product, which has the establishment number ESTM 19549 inside the USDA mark of inspection, was shipped to distributors, federal establishments, retailers and wholesalers including hotels and restaurants in 9 states. Wendy's E. coli outbreak spreads to more states, including New York and Kentucky, CDC says. The affected states include Connecticut, Illinois, Indiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania, according to FSAS. The agency discovered the issue during routine testing. There haven't been any confirmed reports of adverse reactions related to the consumption of the recalled product, according to FSIS.
My description box, and we'll go on to the next one here. Missiles slam into another U.S. base in Syria after Biden's retaliation.
Missiles slam into another U.S. base in Syria after Biden's retaliation. Iran-backed fighters fired 3 missiles at a U.S. military base in northeast Syria today after President Biden launched a series of retaliatory airstrikes in response to a deadly Iranian drone attack that killed an American contractor. The Iran-backed groups targeted the U.S. base at the Al-Omar oil field in Syria's northeast with a missile attack at around 11 a.m. on Friday morning. 2 missiles fell in the oil field, without causing damage, while the third landed on a civilian house nearby, the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said. It was unclear whether the strikes had caused any casualties. Read the full story. https://www. The militants launched the strikes just hours after President Biden ordered the U.S. Central Command Forces to launch precision airstrikes against facilities used by groups affiliated with Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps, killing 11 pro-Iran fighters. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said Thursday's retaliatory airstrikes against the IRGC, a wing of the Iranian military which is blacklisted as a terrorist group by the U.S., were carried out by F-15 fighter jets. Read the full story. White House National Security spokesman John Kirby said today the strikes were aimed at protecting American personnel in Syria. This decision was in response to an earlier Iranian drone killed a U.S. contractor and injured 5 service members, as well as another American contractor at a maintenance facility on a coalition base near Al-Hasaka in northeast Syria.
And there's more to read if you like. The article will be in my description box. And here's another one here.
Chairman of Russia's Security Council, warned that Moscow would not rule out using nuclear weapons in Ukraine if the Eastern European country tries to take back Crimea, which was illegally annexed by Russia in 2014. An ally of Russian President Vladimir Putin, Medvedev, who was also the former president and prime minister of Russia, floated the idea that Moscow would use nuclear weapons against Ukraine in response to any attempt that would split off part of the state. As far as some serious offensives involving an attempt to retake Crimea are concerned, it is absolutely clear that this will serve as a basis for the use of all means of protection, including those provided for by the basic doctrine of nuclear deterrence, when the use of any types of weapons against Russia poses a threat to the existence of the state as such, Medvedev said in an interview on Friday with Russian media, including TASS and the VKontakte (VK) social media network. The fight between Russian and Ukrainian troops extended throughout major cities in Ukraine since the war began last February, including Kiev, Odessa, Kherson, and most recently intensified in Bakhmut. There is still no end to the war in sight, but Western nations, including the United States, continue to supply Ukraine with military and humanitarian aid to help the war-torn country sustain and defend itself.
Read the rest of this in my description box. Next one I got here for you will be Biden administration cracks down on air conditioners as war on appliances continues.
Continue reading. The Biden administration announced its latest home appliance regulations this week, targeting air conditioners in an action it said would reduce the nation's carbon emissions. The regulations, unveiled Thursday by the Department of Energy, DOE, finalize energy efficiency standards for home air conditioning units, or window air conditioners, and portable air cleaners. The DOE said the move would cut air pollution and push consumer costs down by billions of dollars via energy savings. Today's announcement builds on the historic actions President Biden took last year to strengthen outdated energy efficiency standards, which will help save on people's energy bills and reduce our nation's carbon footprint, Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm said in a statement. DOE will continue to engage with our public and private sector partners to finalize additional proposals like today's that lower household energy costs and deliver the safer, healthier communities that every American deserves, she continued.
Colorado are moving to ban the construction of new gas stations. It's part of a so-called effort to combat climate change. That means the city would be limited to the 6 stations currently available for its nearly 21,000 residents.
I don't think any single action this council or community takes is going to fix climate change. But I think it's a really good idea for us to decarbonize because it sends a signal and it sends a message and we learn something that we can apply.
Charlie Danaher is the GOP spokesperson in Boulder County, Colorado, and joins me now. Charlie, thanks for being with us. You know, how bad of a spot is this going to put drivers and not only that, but businesses in if this does pass?
Oh, it's crazy. You know, the thing that alarms me is it's not so much their attack on the free market and their abuse of power. What's most alarming to me is their arrogance. That's what's really alarming.
Yeah,
if you think about it.
Go on, Charlie.
No, if you think about it, if they can take the step to outlaw gas stations, then where will they stop? What's next? Outlawing the sale of beef in all grocery stores or milk and eggs? I mean, there's just no end to their fanaticism.
Yeah, I mean, if you go back to the soundbite that we played in the break, the councilwoman we just heard there, she said the reason we are in the climate crisis that we are in is because we've allowed the free market to do what they want. What do you think when she said that?
Oh, it's alarming. So, yeah, it's the arrogance. It's that they know better than everyone else. And I think we agree on one thing. We do have a crisis, but it's not that we're about to die as a result of climate change. It's that we have these bureaucrats that have empowered themselves to rule over our lives. Yeah, and we think.
You heard her right there say she knows this is anything they do with that city council is not going to change.
Later, the description will be in my description box there. The article will. And let's see what we got next here. Yeah, Japan and Germany are again preparing for war.
The German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has called this moment a historic turning point. In Japan, a famous comedian named Tamori coined the, somewhat obscure, phrase new pre-war, and it has been widely used to say much the same thing. that Russia's invasion of Ukraine has forced both countries to take their own military preparedness more seriously. None of these measures mean that the two former Axis powers are returning to their belligerent ways of World War II.
Paragraph. Cynthia, stop that. Anyway, let's go on to the next one. The link will be on the description box if you want to hear more about that. I'm going to kill that one there. Okay, here. This is from the Business Insider.
Ireland, Croatia, Austria, and Germany said this week they arrest him. A growing number of countries in Europe say they will arrest Putin if he crosses their borders. Ireland, Croatia, Austria, and Germany said this week they arrest him, in line with an ICC warrant. The likelihood this would happen is low, but the warrant is a further blow to Russia's reputation. Full screen. 1 of 9 photos in gallery, copyright AP Photo/Libcos. These battles and major moments have shaped a growing number of countries in Europe said. Although the threat is largely symbolic, it is nonetheless embarrassing for Putin, who is increasingly being treated in the West as a criminal rather than a national leader. The International Criminal Court issued a warrant for his arrest on March 17, accusing him of ordering the abduction of children in occupied parts of Ukraine, which would be a war crime. Countries who recognize the ICC are meant to enforce its warrants, and in the days that followed various countries have made clear that they would. Germany soon said it would enforce the warrant, followed by Ireland on Tuesday, then Austria, and also Croatia said the same on Friday.
And you can read the rest of this in my description box if you like. And this is going to be my last one right here from the Telegraph. The vaccine injury scheme ramps up staff as claims over COVID jabs keep growing.
Increasing demand for COVID vaccine injury payments has seen the number of staff processing claims increase 20-fold, figures show. The Vaccine Damage Payment Scheme, VDPS, has scaled up operations and boosted its administrative staff from 4 to 80 to handle the claims. A project is also underway to digitalize the application process to make it simpler and quicker for claimants. But MPs, campaigners and families have called for the process to be reformed, arguing that the payment cap of £120,000 is too low, too slow and bureaucratic, and the eligibility criteria is too strict. If a person is left severely disabled as a result of receiving certain vaccines, they could be entitled to the one-off payment from the government. Families can also apply for the payment if a loved one died as a result of a vaccination. It is not treated as compensation, meaning claimants can still seek damages in court. Inadequate funds to families. A group of patients and families are now taking legal action against AstraZeneca after they suffered injury or bereavement as a result of complications from the COVID vaccine. The Hausfeld Claimant Group, which includes 13 bereaved families and 28 survivors, says the VDPS offers inadequate funds to families. Sarah Moore, leading the litigation, said, "No amount of compensation will bring back loved ones or restore those injured to health, but it can make life a little bit easier for the mothers, fathers, children, parents and partners who are now reshaping their lives."
Anyway, this is the last I got for you now, and I hope you like. Don't forget to subscribe and keep watching at least. Come back once in a while, and I thank you for watching, and See you next time.